Not the baby hand.
And just like that, we are back again. Another week of the Redeployment Podcast. Welcome.
Yes, sir.
EG, the hustler. How are you doing today, my good sir?
Man, I'm good. I'm tired. Trying to working with the situations here. As y'all see, I'm in a different mode here, different background, going through a little power outage around here.
Yeah, you got that natural feel going for you today. That natural,
right?
Sunlight.
Right.
Got the
You
closet
feel me?
in the back.
Black greasy. You man.
It's all good.
Need to put some paint on these walls, man. Looking like a community center.
Hey man,
I sit down. That's why I looked at the ceiling. I said, "Man, look like a community center, man." I never looked at them, paid attention to that.
Sometimes we never see, man. We never know until it's in front of us.
Right, we see it in a different view, man. That was crazy.
It's the sunlight. The sunlight, you know, the sun, S-U-N, you know what I'm talking
right.
about? You know,
facts.
and then the S-O-N, you feel me? You
Preach.
know what I mean?
Preach.
No, how was your week then, bro?
Cool, man. Very productive as always.
Okay.
Been selling a lot of cars, man. Trying to brave the heat. I know you see I'm getting black, man. I've been outside. Look at this, I'm dark. I'm crispy, man. Look at
what they say, darkness is spreading.
Darkness. Boy, I'm talking about it's hot, boy. I seen the thing you put up the other day, the Mario level where the sun be whooping on you.
Oh man, that's
it.
That is hit. I remember that level where the sun was literally trying to kill you.
Yes,
literally
that's it.
Trying to kill
that's it. That's outside.
Match.
Yeah, that's outside.
Yeah.
That's that same one out there.
For me, man, bro, I took a week off of work.
Oh my God. Okay.
Right. To go to a basketball camp, bro.
Nice.
So I've been in the basketball camp all week long. Well, thus far. And I'm telling you, the motivation to become a coach has just went up a notch.
Nice.
Now because I got here to North Carolina and I was like, let me Google all the AAU teams. Right.
Okay.
So I did that. I got no hit back. So, it is what it is. So then I said, well, let me look up some basketball camps. I'll go there and try to get on. And I found this one. And then I was looking on there and it was like, you could be a observing coach. And I was like, okay, cool. And then it was like, well, the price is this. I was like, you got to pay to be a coach. So I jumped in the email section and be like, hey, yo, what this is? You know what I'm talking about? Like, I don't know why we paying for this. And so they was like, no. It's, you come as a camper. It's a day camp. So you come as a camper and you just watch the drills, you interact with the campers, you interact with the team, and it helps you as a coach add some stuff to your, toolbox. I was like, okay.
Right, your toolbox. Yeah, okay.
And so he was like, but you know what I mean? I like your story. Man, you can come for free. I said, well, put me in.
What?
Then. Put me
Right,
in.
put me in, coach. Yeah.
So I've been down there at the coach. I've been down there, and man, I think the coach and the team itself, like,
Hmm.
is feeling my energy,
Okay.
feeling, because I always believe your gift will take you to places, right? So
Yeah,
my
most
gift
definitely.
is coaching, is being with the kids, is mentoring. So I'm in there. I'm taking notes, but I'm itching to say something. Let me help.
Right.
But I'm like, nah, let me chill. Let me chill. But there's little things and little ways they see me help, and they're like, bro, we gotta get your number because
Right.
you need to be on this side with us. Because
Right.
instead of I've always taken the advantage of talking to people like they're people. I get it.
That's right.
You are in charge of the camp, but you are a person too. How was your day? How
Right.
was
That's right.
your life? How was the trip
Hmm.
in? You know what I mean? And so
Hmm.
even that part got them like, man, we need your number. And I'm gonna
Right.
email the director. You need to be teaching with us. And I'm just like, all I did was ask if you need help moving the table. All I did
Right.
was ask, I'm asking them questions about the drills they running. And bro, they trying to put me on. So it's whatever's in God's will,
So,
man. You
bro.
know what I mean?
Oh
I'm
no,
just
that's
trying to be
yours.
up in there. Yeah.
That's yours.
So
That's
that's
yours. I'm
that's
gonna claim it. We're gonna claim it already. That's yours.
amen. Amen. Hey man, look at Marcus. Look at Marcus, my boy
Hmm.
Marcus, man. What a great guest we had last week. Um,
Nice. Yes. Yes. Marcus, what's happening? What's happening?
and so before I bring on my guest, I
We
do want to
we always have good guests though. We always
we
got
we
good, great
we
guests.
got great guests. We got
We
great
never
guests.
had a bad one.
I
we
know.
did.
We
Yeah, we
still
never had
have.
that. We on the road.
But I just want to get your quick synopsis, and I'm gonna have the guest, he's gonna chime in as well. But I want your
Okay.
quick synopsis of the recent attacks. We had this is a military podcast show, so we can touch on it. And we're
Oh,
just
this
gonna
is what
touch
we
on the
supposed to
fact.
talk about.
We're gonna touch on the facts of what happened. We're gonna touch on how we feel and how it made us feel. So we see last week, um, the US sent the attack off to Iran, and a couple days later, 2 days later, a reattack from Iran back to one of our bases in Al Udeid. What's your
Mhm.
initial thoughts on that?
Uh, initially, it caught me by surprise because I had been watching. I've been staying close. I don't want to say surprise. Let me back up. It caught me. It shocked me. I'll put it like that. It shocked me because for him to sit there and lie or basically tell us he didn't know what he was going to do. We don't know. We don't have no plans. We figure and we see now that there definitely was plans all along.
Mhm.
Um, and then there's another thing. Cause see, my thing is, and I try not to speak before I get all the information.
Right.
So when you put up something and you let me know, we was talking back and forth in the emails. You were saying you brought up a good point. You were saying that we cleared everybody out. We been cleared everybody out, and it was basically like a pump fake.
Mhm.
It was like as a mind game.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? It was a mind game. I'm gonna get you. You're gonna think you're gonna do something, but you're not gonna do nothing. We
Right.
already playing with you. You
Right.
pulling the string. You know what I'm saying? He pulled the string. So so I will say, and I don't know if I'm gonna regret saying this or not, but I don't know to what lengths. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know what's going forward. But I will say this was it was weird. I'm trying to choose my words wisely.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it was shocking. It was bold.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna say it was wrong though.
Okay.
I,
Okay.
I can't bring myself to say that yet
Okay.
because I don't know all the information. You
Right.
understand? We don't know all the information. I can't say hey it was wrong, but I will say in times like this, I'm glad we have the tech and the things that we do have, the equipment and the warfare. You know, I'm glad we're set up, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Because you seen things were intercepted. You seen it was missiles intercepted and all kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, you know what I'm saying. I'm glad we're set up, but I don't like feeling that someone that I don't feel is capable to think things all the way through is pushing the buttons.
Right.
That's how I feel about
Right.
it. In short.
In short. I'm along the lines of you. So since I've left the military, I have tried to stay out of the way as far as news and stuff going on. I'm still a part of the NCO and Airman chat groups on Facebook. You gotta stay. They keep you abreast of what's going on.
Right.
But I would say in short, I was like, it shows that he really, and we're talking about our president, I really feel, is my feeling, that he needs to lean in more on his cabinet members, right? He got to lean in more of his experts.
Yes. Yes.
Really feel like, because as a leader,
Oh my God. Yes.
one thing I learned as a leader is, as a leader, you don't know everything, but you
Hmm.
build your people around you that they know everything and they can help you get to the right decision. Because one thing that was apparent, and if you know me, I'm a find the funny in almost anything.
Yeah.
This man shot a missile off. He shot a attack. And then he was like, all right, y'all, it's time for peace. I'm like, Mr. President, I don't really think that's how attacks really work.
No.
That's just like you go up in the bar, you see a dude you don't like, you sock him out. All
And
right,
tell him to
man,
sit down.
we should be we should be friends now. No, man, I gotta get my wrist back.
Right. Now you sit down.
Yeah, you gonna spill off on me and then
Right.
be like, hey man, let's be friends. Like that. Now that part had me thrown. It had me thrown.
Yes.
So then I had to go look up kind of what happened, because that's all I
Right.
read. I just read that and I was like, oh man, we made an attack, blah blah blah. Because if y'all see my Facebook, it's all funny.
Yeah.
It's
Oh yeah.
all funny. So I'm all funny. So that's my algorithm. So for me to go find stuff like that, I have to physically go look, and then I go
Right.
to sources that I like. But yeah, but then I also seen the video and stuff that you was talking about, Hustle, of how we preemptively knew what we were gonna do. Like you said,
Yeah.
there was a plan in place, because that is a major linchpin in the Middle East for us.
Oh yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
so to get that drone cleared out where no aircraft was harmed,
Yep.
and nobody was, no casualties, no shrapnel, nothing, to clear it out in that way, you had a plan.
Yep. It was planned.
Now,
It was preempted.
now on the military side of the house, and I'm getting in my military bag, I do understand that we cannot tell everybody everything because it will
That's it.
cause mass hysteria. I get
Yep.
that. But to come on, but you can do that without doing that by just not saying anything. Don't say, oh nah, you know what I'm saying? Nah, we ain't doing nothing.
Marcus said the dinners told him everything. All those steak and lobster dinners told him everything he needed to know.
This dude is a fool. But yeah. So I just want that quick synopsis. So we do know some attacks did happen. On our side, there was no one harmed. There was there was probably some infrastructure damage, but
Right.
no harm, no aircraft was harmed. So shouts out to that. Thank God for that. You know what I'm saying? We can throw the horns up for that, maybe, or maybe not. Air horns
Go
is
ahead.
out.
Beep, beep, beep,
Bang, bang,
beep.
bang, 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 bang. I don't know
Need to
what
put
happened to
the
air
I
horn.
love you, Medica. You put the sound bite in there.
But now we had a part of our show where we bring on some good guests.
Let's
This
get
is the
it.
best part. Like we okay. I'm decent.
Right. I'm
Hustle
alright.
better than me. You know
Nah,
what I'm
I'm alright.
saying? But our guests be bringing the heat.
Yes,
So
most definitely.
this guy here. He was at my second base. We'll talk to him. I don't know if it was his first, but I met him. I was a supply guy. He was an aircraft maintainer. So obviously there is some connection there where he finds the problem. He tells me, I order the part, and we get it going. But and off
Nice.
meeting him, very calm, very cool, collected brother. He brought me under his wing. He was living off base, so we going to his house to eat. We ain't got to eat
Nice.
chow hall every day. You feel me?
Right.
So
Getting
he
them
took
good
care.
groceries.
Yeah. He took care of the old dorm rats. He took
I
care of
heard
us real
that.
good. Even though we all the same ages, but he took care of us. So you know what I'm saying. So he then goes on to transition from aircraft maintenance to be the police because he was
Nice.
OSI. So shouts out to all
Nice.
y'all OSI boys. Y'all some big boys.
Special investigation. Let's
Special
go.
investigations.
Special.
Then he left the military. Then he became a pastor. So
All right.
we got to bring on my boy Dave Collins. How are you doing today, sir?
What's good, man? I'm good.
Welcome,
I'm
welcome,
tired, but I'm
welcome.
good. Thank y'all for having me.
Now
Oh
Dave is
man.
fresh
Our
off
pleasure.
of a Bible study, so y'all gonna have to keep it going in the chats. Keep it going because we gotta keep Dave lifted. He had he was throwing some haymakers in the Bible study, boy.
Was it?
Haymakers, and we'll touch on it. But how you doing today, Dave?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm like I said, I'm a little tired, but I'm always leaving one thing, moving into the next one. So it's all good. Happy to
That's
be
what's
here. I
up.
love the show. I love I'm always in the comments talking crazy. So it's nice to get on screen.
I appreciate
Yes,
it,
sir.
man. We love having you, man. We love having you.
Yes, sir. So, Kadena, was that your first base or second base, or
Yep.
where was that? That was your
First
first
one.
base. Okay,
Yeah,
so
man.
that's where we met over in the old radio room.
Where is that
Yeah.
at? For the people that don't know, where's Kadena? For the people that
Okinawa,
don't know.
Japan.
There we
Okinawa,
go.
Japan. That dude over there was our supply guy. What was his name? Willie. What was Willie's name?
Willie Walden.
Willie Walden. He was cool as he could be from Southeast DC.
Boy,
Yes,
if that ain't a military name, boy, Willie
That boy was
Walden.
so
Willie
cool.
Walden. So look, so we had
What's your
Willie.
granddaddy name?
So we got Willie Walden. We
Willie
had
Walden.
Marcus, who we had on last week, and then we
Uh-huh.
had two shows before that. We had Rock City or
Rock
Robert
City.
Jackson. Now that was our crew over in Japan. Now, can you imagine?
Nice.
We had a
Man,
squad.
them was some fun
Yeah, we had a
times. Them
squad.
had to be good times, man. Them had to be
Oh
good
man,
times.
Yeah.
we kept it
Yeah.
going. So, without further ado, we have to move you into our first section of the day. It's called The Drop. So this is here, sir. We're going to explain to us how you came into the military. What was the situations surrounding the military. You know, I was if one more thing happened to me, God, I'm going to the military. And then my girlfriend at the time, she went to jail. So I figured that was him telling me that was it. Thing. Hustle had a rap sheet longer than a clean bill of health, and it was like,
wait a minute. That's the thing. I didn't have a rap sheet. That's why I was allowed to go. I didn't. I never got in trouble. I should have had one. Right, exactly, DC. I should have had one, but I never had a rap sheet, and that's why I was able to get
down and pluck you out and put you in the military.
That's why I was able to do that back in the day. Yeah, that's why I was able to. Thank you, God. Hey, it's all part of being a PK now. It's all part of being a PK. We talked about that now. We talked about that. I'm trying to tell you, we blessed and anointed. I'm trying to tell people. They don't understand.
Pray for us, big prayer.
Yeah, I got too much prayer on me.
So Dave, without further ado, go ahead and send us through you coming into the military.
Yeah, so I from Warner Robins, Georgia. My stepdad was retired military, so I was around the military all the time. And I kind of thought that was something I might do. I wasn't really sure. I play saxophone, so I did a year of music school, but I was not very serious about it. And I was dating somebody who I would later marry. And she was a challenging person to be around. It was very needy, so I spent more time at her. You know, I spent more time with her than I spent in my own classes. So I went from like a 3.96 GPA to a 0.8 GPA. Lord, and my mom was like, "I'm not paying for this school, fam."
Hold on. 0.8 is crazy.
I didn't know you could go below 1. I wasn't aware.
Me neither. I was gonna say, did you turn in any work?
No, because I wasn't going. I was showing up to nothing but rehearsals, fam. And my advisor dogged me out. I'm a freshman at a private school. And this dude is like, I was like, well, how many classes should I have? And he was like, well, I mean, it's up to you, how, whatever you think you can handle. This dude had me with like 23 credit hours my first semester. Yikes. I was like, is that what everybody's doing? And he was like, I don't know. My advisor just left. So it was
hey,
wow.
Shout out to all the college advisors out there. Y'all did y'all big one. Y'all set
yeah, so I after my short stint, you know what I'm saying, I left school. I was still playing music, and I wanted to go to the Air Force band. Thought that's what I was going to do. And the saxophone player who was teaching me got stationed in Germany. So he was like, I know a dude. He's going to take care of you. He's in the Air Force band. Don't worry about it. You work with him for another 3 months. You're good to go for the band. Don't worry. And I was like,
famous
all right
last
now.
Words. Those are famous last words. Don't worry.
Man, I did. Listen, I did one lesson with this dude. He hated my guts off top. And like everything that I did, he was like, I don't know. I'm not good. I don't know. He was trying to find something that I couldn't do well. And like, he found something obscure that I couldn't do well. And he was like, I don't think you're ready for the band at all. And I was like, I've been studying with this other dude for years, and I just got out of a competitive music school program because life is lifing right now. What you talking about? And he was like, I just don't even see what he saw in you. So I stopped studying with him. I went and studied with a dude in Atlanta who's like does all like the jingles for every Turner thing you've ever heard. If you ever saxophone player on CNN, he was that dude. I was like, all right, I'll go study with somebody else, get my little stuff together.
Yo,
man, I called the band. So I was already I'd already gone to the recruiter, told him I was, doing the band. So it's a little bit of a separate thing when because the band is kind of different than your normal career field thing. So they were kind of like, all right, bet that's easy money for me because the band does all the recruitment. Man, I called the band because I wasn't hearing from him. And the dude, I'd known him since I was like in 8th grade, the guy who did recruiting for the band. I was like, no, on first name basis. I was like, Marcel, what's good, man? It's David. I'm ready to go ahead and knock out this rehearsal, go ahead and get this out of the way so I can go ahead and go to basic training. And he was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, what's up? Now, I'm working at Piccadilly Cafeteria at the time, slicing the roast beef. Slicing roast beef paper thin, brown, you know what I'm saying? So I'm on my break because it wasn't even anything serious to me. It was just like, man, let me go ahead and call this dude and do this.
Right.
He was like, man, well, what's his name told us about that lesson you had last year. And I was like, yeah, he didn't like me at all. I was like, but you've known me since I was like 14. So, you know, I'm about it. And he was just
what
like,
does that matter? Yeah.
He was like, well, and at this time, I don't even know. He's like, well, he's a master sergeant, man. And he told me I can't audition you. And I was like,
oh my God,
can't audition me?
Oh.
And he was like, I can't audition you. Like, I can't even bring you here. And I was like my senior year of high school, I spent half of my day at the Air Force Band playing with them. I was like, you've known me.
Wow.
And he's like, I'm a tech sergeant and he's a master sergeant, and I can't audition you. I'm sorry.
It's above his pay grade.
And I was like, I'm already in delayed enlistment. And he was like, yeah. So I remember I was like, for like the next few weeks, I was just like beside myself. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. I was at the altar at church crying every Sunday. Like, oh, Lord, I can't. Because I'm like, now I'm in Warner Robins, Georgia. I'm a college dropout, and I don't have the job that I wanted to have. Yo, Piccadilly. Hey, man, wow. I ate like half of my check every time. Like, I would have done real well at Piccadilly, Marcus, except that I ate every meal while I was working there. And they gave and you get half off, but Jack, my meal deductions was looking like the military. It'd be like $250 coming out my check. Meals. It was so good. So good.
You say it was so good, huh?
So I'm like telling my parents, they're like, so what are you gonna do? And I was like, man, I don't know. I'm still dating this girl. We're talking about we're gonna get married. And like, they're like, you're not gonna just marry her and work at Piccadilly, are you?
And be broke, yeah.
And I was like, I don't know.
Can so both like y'all work at Piccadilly though?
She was working there too. Yeah.
Or I'm saying like, because y'all gonna get y'all own meals, then you know what I'm saying? You'd be all right.
Yeah, it was. So like the manager at Piccadilly, this is like something that stands out in my mind. His name was Keith Robinson. I still talk to him. He pulled me aside and he's just like, David, you've done like every job in here. You've done every job in here well. And I know that there's people who've been working here like 20 years that can't do what you can do, that you're very competent. And I really think that you're set up for management. I really would like to offer you an assistant manager position. I don't see why you couldn't be running a store in no time. And I remember I was sitting with him and I was like, yeah. Man, hell no, Keith, you're not going to trap me in Warner Robins. No, dog, this is my 2 weeks notice, fam. I can't do this.
No.
Like, it hit me. I was like, I'm about to become that dude that work at the Piccadilly. Nah, fam, I can't do it.
You said it. It hit me like,
And he was like,
management for me.
He was like, I understand. I was like, I'm gonna go back to the recruiter and I'm going somewhere, dog. I can't do it.
Yeah, he knew.
Can't do it. Yeah, later he told me, he was like,
he's looking for the next him.
Yeah. We're still cool. We still talk. And he told me, he was like, I knew it was like 50-50 or less. And I was kind of hoping you would say no, because I didn't want you to feel like you got trapped in food service, but you were so good at it. And I was like, he was like, later he told me, he was like, I don't think that I would have let you commit to it because I knew that there was more for you than that. And I was like,
right.
Well, you sure ran me up out of there.
That's a good friend, boy.
That's good.
Yeah, so I went back to recruiter.
I thought about it like,
man, it sounded so good. I was like, here go my 2 weeks notice, fam. I can't even beat this dude. So I went to the recruiter. I had scored like 90s on the ASVAB, so I could have done whatever I wanted to do.
Go anywhere.
So I was like, I'm trying to get out of here. So I don't even know, because I was trying to be in the band. So I don't even know what there is to do. And the recruiter's like, what you need to do is go open.
Oh, Lord.
And I was like, I do? And he was like, yeah, because if you don't know what job you want, it makes more sense for you to do some research between now when you're going to go to basic here in a couple of months. So between now and basic, you can research the jobs. Then you get to basic and you pick your job. Why would you do it now and you don't know what the job is? And I was like, okay, cool.
That was a lie. That was the biggest lie ever told.
And that was a lie. So I left shortly thereafter. Go to basic.
Open general with 90s on your
open. I was open electric, and it had to be like a 60 open electric with a 60 or higher ASVAB. So still, I mean, I wish somebody would, whatever. He got me.
Public service announcement. This podcast is for you. If you got above a 60 on your ASVAB, bro, don't go in open.
Please don't
go in open like ever. Unless you're like running from something.
I don't care if you got a 44.
Go work at the Piccadilly and be on delayed enlistment until your job is ready. Just don't slap nobody at the Piccadilly. I know they be tripping up in there sometimes, but don't slap nobody. Just cut the slice the ham and make the sandwiches. Don't go in open. Wait for your
I didn't know. I didn't know that. Like, I went to all the different services and talked to them, and they were all trying to lie. But the Air Force was the one I knew. My stepdad was Air Force, and he was like, "Don't let these people tell you something crazy. If you're gonna go in, go in." So I went in. I remember it was January 2003, and so I got cold. I got the cold version of Lackland. It was warming up as we were leaving, but we got the cold one.
You were lucky. You was lucky.
Yeah,
you was lucky.
Definitely. So yeah, basic was crazy. I'd never been through anything like that. I was never physically active. I was a band kid. I didn't play sports or nothing. So I was like, I was gonna die every time we did PT. Yeah,
I was about to say PT killed you.
Yeah, but like J3 said, I laid back in the cut the whole time. So
I was bad too, but we did some marching in the summer.
Yeah, we did too, but I mean, like,
it was wild.
But I ain't never run more than a lap, for being late to practice.
Weak.
Like, I ain't never run,
bruh.
With the saxophone, what?
You know what I'm saying? A lap if I was late. I ain't never run 8 of them joints. Kidding me? For what?
I played sports all my life, and PT still got the best of me, bro.
Yo, it was wild.
It was some days that PT just got that PT is just gonna get the best of you.
Yeah, but I was surprised. I got in shape. Like, I went to basic. I was like 115 pounds. I gained like 15 pounds at basic.
Yeah.
So like, gained a bunch of muscle and stuff. Eating a whole lot more. All that good chow hall food at 324 Training Squadron. Shout out to the Knights.
Hey, shout out to the Knights. I was 324.
Shout out to the Knight.
I was 320th.
I was 320th.
Hey,
324th, man.
Alcatraz.
Man, we came in from PT and we seen them French toast, that big old bread.
Yes.
Come on, man.
Yes.
Come on. That food was off the chain.
I want y'all. So I'm gonna ask y'all this afterwards. I wonder if my stuff is still in Alcatraz. Like, do y'all remember what Alcatraz looked like? The thing, the logo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So is it a brick wall with a skeleton hanging off the brick wall?
Probably. If you look online, they have like the pictures of people in basic training flights.
Yeah,
and they have like the historian has like some of the pictures that are still around.
Nice.
So you might be able to find some of your own pictures.
Me and my homeboy drew that. Yeah, me and my homeboy drew that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was saying.
Because
I used to have it on the jacket and everything. I gave it to my uncle. And he passed away, and I haven't got the jacket yet. I have not got the jacket back.
It's crazy.
Remember the jackets? Remember the jackets they used to give us? Basically, I have not got my jacket back. Yep, the bomber. Yep. And I was so proud of that because we had drew that design and everything, the shirts and all that. We had the shirt for graduation flight, and all that. Man, we was going hard, man.
I'm gonna have to go look that up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basic was same for. I don't think anything too crazy happened for me in basic, except I just remember going to. It was like, if anybody is open, come with us. And I was like, all right. So I got like my little piece of paper, and I'm like, I got all my little, and I go there, and the dude sits down with me. And he's like, all right, so I was like, so here's the jobs I got. He looked at that paper.
Yep.
he sat it somewhere else, and then he said, "Here are the 3 jobs available," and none of them on my list. And I remember it was 2. It was aircraft, avionics, and telephone systems. And I was like, I had like P-mail and medical and all this other stuff on my list. And he was like, yeah, that ain't what they got this week. So this your list. I was like, well, what about all the stuff that I had? And he like picks up this balled up paper. He hands it back to me. He's like, you can put those on your list, but you ain't gonna get them. So I wrote, dude. So I wrote
at
down
this
like
point, you had already signed up. Now you gonna do something.
I was at basic training.
Yeah.
I was at BMT, so I'm like, I was distraught. I was so pissed. So I remember I wrote down like 4 or 5 jobs, and then I put like, I was like, what's avionics? And he was like working on aircraft. And I was like outside? He was like, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was like, put that at the bottom.
Big outside.
And then like right afterwards, not long after, they're like, you got avionics. I was like,
congratulations.
So we
whatever
leave
you
basic.
don't want,
I
that's
did.
what they're gonna give you.
Bruh. So like we leave basic. I had to do 6 weeks of tech school at Biloxi, Mississippi. And then another 4 months of tech school at Wichita Falls, Texas.
Oh,
yeah, Wichita Falls. Yeah.
So long tech school, electronics principles, and then teaching you how to work on a bunch of different aircraft. And then I ended up getting an assignment to Japan, which was cool. My ex had been stationed over there when her dad was military. So I was excited. And who don't want to go to Japan if they got any sense? So
right.
Yeah. But I didn't want to be doing that job. I was still pretty pissed about that. But got to Japan, and it was lovely. Like J3 said, we immediately had a crew. Our unit. Yo, 324. That's that kid.
Look at him.
That's in Balad. That's a Balad in front of vehicles we be taking off base every day.
Yeah. That's what OSI.
Yeah, that was down. Oh yeah, there's the dude.
Oh, look at OSI.
Clean.
You look like you about to go arrest somebody right now.
I used to joke. I said, y'all picked me up because I look like I could be from anywhere, didn't you? And they were like,
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
That's over there. Yeah, that's over there. Up to no good.
Up to
no good. But yeah, okay. Oh, there's me and Brandon Scott. That's it. That's a Kandahar.
I got Brandon Scott coming in a few weeks.
Good.
Yeah,
nice.
I had the look on my boonie hat. I used to iron it so it was all the way flat, and I wore that thing cocked to the side all over the base, and like Chiefs and stuff be coming.
Like, what was that boy? Houdini?
And people would be coming up, and they'd be like, and I'd be like, what?
What? Say something.
What can you say? They'd be like, you can't wear your hat like that. I'd be like, is that a 2903 thing or what? And they're like,
right.
They ain't nobody, but they didn't know. They were just mad because they couldn't do nothing about it. They were pissed though.
Right.
See, I was there 3 years. Yeah, that's in DCUs. Dang, that made me feel old.
DCUs, yeah.
Nice.
No, the DCUs are so fresh because they literally had the butterfly collar.
And they felt like pajamas.
I'm talking about them.
Yeah, they was light.
Big joint. But did you when they gave me my DCUs, I had to put them in the bathtub and put them in that the chemical stuff.
I think I just watched them a few. No, we didn't do that. No.
Yeah.
We just took them off the rack and put them on for Afghanistan.
Bro, I had a doggone science lab in my dorm room. My sweet mate came home like, what is going on? Like, look, man, I gotta treat my DCUs going to the thick. He said, I'm trying to take a shower. You're gonna have to wait.
That's funny.
Yeah,
we just wore them.
So you went from aircraft maintenance. How long did you do the aircraft maintenance?
So I was at Kadena for 3 years, and then I went and taught tech school for 2.
Nice.
I applied to be a tech school instructor.
Okay.
And
Nice.
I got picked up for that. So as soon as my ETS, my DROs came up, I went back to Shepherd and taught there for a couple of years. And I was coming up on my retraining window, and I already knew I didn't really want to go back to the flight line.
Okay.
And I was loving teaching, man. I was like, man, I was connecting with my classes, and it was just it was cool. Teaching really wasn't it. It was the people for me. Yeah. So
right.
I was like, well, I want to see if I can get into a job that I actually like. And when you're in your first enlistment, you actually have some say so if you want to do something else.
Yeah.
And when I was in Okinawa, one of the guys who went to church with us, because I went to church when I went at the Navy chapel. Was it the Navy? Yeah, the Navy chapel sometimes. Because a friend of mine was an OSI agent, and he played drums and bass. So he was like, man, when you get to retrain, you really ought to think about OSI. And I was like, man, y'all that's like an FBI type thing. I don't know nothing about that. And he was like, man, look, that's what you need to do. Because I think you're the right. He's like, I think you're the right fit for it. So when you get there, you ought to talk to him. So, I ended up reaching out to them, talking to them, and they were, I went through that process, so I left the classroom, went to OSI. That was another 6 months of tech school at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center in Brunswick, Georgia.
6 months. Woo.
6 months. And it was like, 8 hours of shooting a week. It was like legal classes, interrogations with actors, like tactics, knocking down. Somebody? We had an entire combatives class that we did twice a week.
No, I'm saying during the interrogation, was you good?
Oh, no. No. I was always my wife, Ashley, she told me that I'm like a combination of Columbo and Axel Foley.
Cry.
I think that's probably so I'm real chill. This is me all the time. This was me when I was an agent too. So like people would be talking to me and they'd be like, man, which one of you is going to be the bad cop? And I was like, nobody's going to be the bad cop because you're not going to want to talk to somebody who's being a jerk to you. And then 2 hours into the interview and they told me everything they've ever done, they'd be like, does that stuff really work? And I'd be like, well, you just signed a confession, so I think so.
Right.
Hey, so let me take a quick just sidebar here.
That was smooth.
One of my favorite shows is The First 48.
Yes.
And it is mind-numbing to me that these young men has never seen an episode of The First 48.
It doesn't matter if you've seen an episode, Jay. I'm telling you. People would sit down with me in the interrogation room and they know they've done a bunch of felonies. They done drugs, they sold them, they did whatever. And they'd be like, man, I ain't talking to you, not never. And I'd be like, that's cool, man. And then at the end of it, they'd be looking like, I know good and hell well I didn't just tell you I did coke, weed, and Molly.
Right.
Man, you good, son.
And I'm like, you got me. You got me. Dang, you got me.
So if you do something wrong, here's the thing. This is the truth.
Okay.
If you're watching this, keep your nose clean because all you got to do if as an agent, I talk to people on the worst day of their life every day.
Okay.
That's my job.
Wow.
If you've done something that you wish you hadn't, you carrying that around 24/7 and it's bearing on you. And all you want to do, God didn't make us to walk around carrying secrets and guilt. We ain't built like that. So you run into a dude like me, I'm like letting the top off a pressure cooker. You want to talk.
Right.
Come on, man.
And here's the thing, like in that job, very, very quickly, my first unit was I was at Charleston after I left Shepherd, Charleston Air Force Base, South Carolina. And like they used to call me to close there. And I used to feel dirty, dog, because I get anybody to tell me anything, but I really cared about people. So like my interrogations be long, but we really be like,
you really
be telling me
it up.
Yeah. And then like I'd come out there and like my commander, superintendent are like, yeah, dog, you got it. And I'd be like, nah, did you hear what he said? Like I remember talking to a cat once. This guy had done like that. I'm seriously, he was smoking weed, he was doing coke, he was bumping Molly off of his gums, and he was like snorting Ambien, him and some friends. And like this dude told me he didn't want to talk. And I was like, I remember one of the things I said to him, I was like, look, if you don't want to talk to me, don't waste my time. It's late. I'd rather go home. You tell me you want to get an attorney and just leave. But if you want, so I would rather you do that if you're not going to be honest. He was like, what? And I was like, but if you want to talk, I was like, now here's the deal. You don't know who's been following you. You don't know what information I have. And I have this folder of stuff. And I was like, I already know that you did it. And we got like, he's got a urinalysis that's popped hot. And I was like, the only thing that I really need to know to close this case is why. Because I already know what the what is. And he was like, and this dude said to me, looked me in the face, he was like, I was 16 years old and I was having a conversation with my dad. He had a heart attack and died right in front of me. And I've been trying to fill that hole ever since.
Damn, bro.
And I was like, okay, so let's talk.
That's heavy.
So let's talk about it. So we talked about, so like I'm in there sitting here like connecting with this dude. And I walk out and my superintendent's like, there go Dave, the closer. And I was like,
and you don't feel, your soul has time to acclimate to what you just heard and what you just went through.
Yeah, I'm like,
through somebody's testimony.
He's just watching it through the one-way glass. And I was like, man, what the hell's wrong with you? Did you hear what he just said?
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, he ain't even getting an attorney, dog. And I was like,
right.
Yeah, man, we need to get him to mental health. Like, so,
right.
And he's like, yeah, man, we got this thing wrapped up. And so like, that was always a tension for me as an agent. So like in 2010, I got short notice deployed to Balad, and over there, and when we're deployed, I was in Iraq. They take all the skills they teach you as an agent and they make you a counterintelligence, counterterrorism guy.
Ooh.
So you know, when the base got blown up, we would go out and we'd go talk to people, try to figure out who the bad guys are. And instead of building a case file, we build a target package, and then that would go to a special ops unit and they go kill somebody or go wrap somebody up. So it's that same skill set. So, but it was even crazier because out there, you know what I'm saying? I'm talking to somebody who we're rolling out in these big trucks, and I'm going to this dude's house, and I know that when I leave the house, them people about to roll up on him and tell him, you better not have said nothing. Right. We gonna kill you and your family. And I heard a lot of horrible things about stuff, but it was the same way. You know, we were doing good work. We were catching bad guys. But I remember one of the guys I was talking to, he was like, you know, it feels good working with you. I know I'm doing the right thing for my country, but this is 2010. So like we had just gone from Iraqi freedom to New Dawn because we ended combat operations in Iraq. And he was like, but you guys are going to leave, and then the streets are going to run like rivers of blood with dead Sunnis because Iran is going to come in here and they're going to kill us all. And I was like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I'm here on orders, not suggestions, fam. I couldn't stay if I wanted to.
Yikes.
So, I was like, yeah, man, I'm just doing my job like you, and you living your life. You got to do what's right for you. I got to do what's right for me. And what's funny is there's a funny story in the midst of that. So while I'm out there, my first wife flips, trips, cheats, gets pregnant. And while I'm out there breaking, you know, going out the wire every day, she's out here. She's out there. She spent everything we had in our bank account down to $5. I think that's because you just couldn't take that denomination out of the ATM. $5. I looked in USAA.
Cash back and get the $5 out?
I looked in the USAA and there was $5 even in my bank account. And I'm like between missions. And I go to my superintendent and I talked to my ex, and she's talking crazy. Her sister called me and told me like, yo, she's really out here talking stupid and, you know, talking about she's spending all your money tax free and all this kind of stuff. So I go to my superintendent. He's like, Dave, do you feel like you need to go home? And I was like, I can't think of anything I could do in Georgia right now that wouldn't have me in somebody's office like me. So now I'm probably safer in Iraq. He was like, you right.
Plus, if I go home, I only got $5. I can't even get to the crib.
Bro, I had like $20 on that little AFES card.
Oh,
Yo, that had to hold me, son. That in the chow hall held me between the 1st and the 15th.
Oh my goodness!
I had some pogs. You feel me? I had some pogs and what was it, Eagle Cash? I had an Eagle Cash card and whatever the chow hall was serving. But I didn't have no bills. We had gotten rid of the apartment that we had. So that Eagle Cash card came through in the clutch. I don't know why I put like $40 on it.
Listen, that Eagle Cash was that one, bro, for real.
Yo, that thing was like
crazy.
But they will kind of
gotta load it up. She didn't have access to the Eagle Cash.
Yeah, you load it up, it's safe, but you only can use it there in the theater. So
yeah, so I remember, so you know, all that's going on. We're in this volatile thing. There's a regime change going on, all this craziness. And now I know I'm going back to God knows what. So I remember when I was on the way out of Iraq, I talked to J3 on Facebook. Do you remember that?
I don't.
Oh, so I had never been like the lady I was married to was my high school sweetheart. We dated my senior year, stayed together.
Wow.
So I had never really been single. And I remember I texted J3. I was like, yo, I'm on the way out of here, going back to Charleston, single man, special agent, thousandaire again.
What's up, yeah?
Man, I'm about to be laying waste of the world. And I remember I really thought I was like, I'm like Black James Bond out here. I'm about to tear Charleston up. Do you feel me? And J3 was like, pump your brakes, homie. And I was like, huh?
I said that.
Yeah, you were like,
pump your be an adult.
You were like, pump your brakes, fam. You were like, you ain't never really been out there like that. And I don't even think you're that kind of dude. And I don't think you need to go home and act crazy. And I was like, you don't? Come on, this is my chance. And he was like, you were like, I don't think that's you. I'd be, and you said something like, I'd be disappointed if that's what you did. And I was like, dang. I was like, well, I guess I'll go home and go to church and stuff instead of hitting the streets.
You said you was about to jump in the streets, huh?
Listen, Dave.
I had the badge, the credentials. I had like 40 suits in the closet. I'm Special Agent Collins. Here's the deal.
Ooh,
I'm not going home long. I already had it. Listen, Jay, you
had your script ready. You had your script ready.
It was built in. Built in. You
was going to be on a tear, huh, DC?
Listen, Dave.
Mike Lowry, you hear me?
The Dooney Chaser. You gonna be DC the Dooney Chaser. He was gonna be on it, boy.
It was about to be
he was about to turn to Mike Lowry for real.
Now, about to be Mike Lowry.
What year was that?
2010.
Ooh.
All right. So now
the end of 2010, December 2010 is when I was heading home.
So I left Japan in 2006. And I moved to Florida. Mm-hmm. When I got to Florida, I found a great church home. And that's where I started because I'm thinking to myself, it's like, oh, Lord, please don't. What did I tell Dave? But I'm so thankful.
No, you were good. So here's what's funny about me. I had my sax with me everywhere. I don't know if you remember, Jackson. I'd play all around the island. When we were deployed, I was playing and I always had a horn with me. And and I always played in church wherever I was. Now I was in church, but I was like playing in church and playing church at the same time. I wasn't that serious. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But I remember you were like, hey man, that ain't you. Come over here. And it was a short interaction, but it was meaningful. And I was like, dang, I was going to just go get me like a 1-bedroom jump off down there by the college and just, that was the plan.
Hey, PG, they was going to be pulling tickets at the door. All right, I got
Dog.
Yo,
25.
I am done with
Just you
DC.
and
Yo.
26. Just you
He
and
said
26.
he had
Just
a
go.
whole plan.
I got
He
time for two.
he said I was gonna get an apartment by the university.
I sure
Y'all
was.
don't even have to go far. You don't even
Man,
gotta
I'm
go
here.
far. Your dorm
I
right
bring,
over there.
I deliver. Hey,
Your dorm
man,
two streets down, baby. No,
look
you
How
at
no
come?
need to
Yeah,
God.
call the
God,
Uber.
God knows how to like shut some doors on you. God knows when to shut a door because I was
Yeah.
about to ruin my whole life.
So
Wow.
between uh your first wife doing what she did, leaving the deployment, when did you start your relationship for God for real? Like when did that
So
transition
on the
happen?
way home from when I stopped in Germany, and B. Scott was there, and we were
B.
like going out
Scott.
drinking and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I remember when I was on the way home, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't think I'm going to go and be Mike Lowry. That doesn't feel right.
Right.
Jackson's right. And so I'm like, I was like, maybe I'll take somebody on a date. I look up this girl that I dated in 9th grade, Ashley, on
Are you
Facebook.
going back to the Rolodex from
I don't know. I was
grade?
just, that's who I thought about. I wasn't talking to a bunch. It wasn't like I was talking to a bunch of people. I just thought about her.
That's right.
And I sent her a friend request. She sent me a message. We started talking. I was like, hey, I'm gonna be coming home from Iraq. You want to go to dinner with an old friend? And she was just like, yeah, free dinner sounds good to me. And then the rest is history. We've been married since 2011. It'll be 14 years on the 16th of July. So part of getting me together was meeting the right woman. And so I had to convince my friends that I wasn't just on the rebound, because they were like, bruh, like, this is not the way. Like, you should have done the Mike Lowry thing. Now you're talking about what are you doing?
Yeah.
But nah, Ashley and I we spent like the first 2 hours on the phone trying to talk the other out of the first date. Like, we had both come out of like toxic relationships, and it was just like, here's the deal. Like, I cry and stuff. I'm emotional. I grew up with a bunch of women. So if you think that makes me less than a man, we probably shouldn't go out.
Right.
And she was like, no, that's cool. And she'd be like, well, I'm a teacher, and I love my job, and I love kids. And if you think that's too much, then and we just like, for like 2 hours, it was like playing tennis. We were just like, what you think? I don't care if you don't like me. I'm not putting up with that anymore. And then at the end, we're like, you still there? He was like, bet, let's go eat. So we got like all that stuff out of there early, and then we just jumped and we hit it off, man. We hit it off great from the beginning, and we've been going ever since. So I thank God for her, because not only did I have friends who were getting me right, but I met Ashley at a time when I was like already like, man, I don't know if I'm trying to get in a serious relationship right away, but it was right. It was right when it was right. So.
Well, that's what's up. So that's the transition to God. So I was the commander that I had out there, same kind of thing. You're good at this. They wanted to send me to language school if they could make me learn some Arabic or whatever, and then they were going to stand up a detachment in Baghdad, and they wanted me to be the counterterrorism officer for it. Mm-hmm. And they were like, but that's like some backroom stuff we're doing, so you can't tell nobody. And I was like, well, I'm trying to leave Charleston. He was like, well, don't tell. He's like, we can probably get you wherever you want to go for that base, but you can't tell them that we're trying to make you do a year in Iraq after this because you just got back. So I'm still in that deployment mindset. I'm like, let's go get the dwell time. Okay.
But they were trying to work something out. So so I was like, we're trying to go to Japan. I had orders to Yokota, and my then fiance and I are talking like, all right, so we can get this together. We're going to get this straight. Mm-hmm. And, I was supposed to leave in January to go to Yokota. Thanksgiving break, I get an email, and we got like to work Blackberries back then. And it's like, you have an assignment notification. Okay. And I was like,
uh-oh.
Well, I don't have an assignment notification. I already have orders. I've already like shipped off my medical records. TMO is scheduled. What are you talking about? And it was like, you've been, and I go in and I look, and I've been diverted from Yokota, which is down by Tokyo, to Misawa, which is up in the snowy mountains. And I was like, so I called my chief and I was like, Chief, yo, what is this? And I promised the only thing to do, he said 2 sentences to me over like that 10-minute conversation. I said a lot and he only said 2 things. He said, are you turning down the assignment? And I was like, no, Chief, I'm just trying to understand what's going on, because I was going to Yokota and I was like, Tokyo, musician, this is going to be all the way live. I can't wait. And now you tell me I'm going to some snowy mountain in Misawa. I'm just trying to see how that changed. And I promise you, this is all he said. There was a greater need for you in Misawa. And I was like, what does that mean? Don't be deep, Chief. Like, hey, we're talking about it.
Hey, Chief's always going to have something super deep to say.
Yeah, he was making me sick. I was like, well, what do you mean? And he was like, it means there was a greater need for you in Misawa. Are you turning down the orders? Because you know that means you can't re-enlist. And I was like, no, I'm not turning down the orders. I just want you to talk to me.
Just tell me what's up, bro.
So we get there. Right. It's a small unit. I'm the most senior agent there. And I'm expecting to be going to Japan, to go into Iraq in no time. That fell through, but I still got to go to Japan. So Ashley and I get to Japan, and I got trained as a child forensic interviewer. I've interviewed hundreds of children about things that I wish nobody ever had to hear about, let alone experience.
Lord,
my first 6 months there, the guy, my sponsor, who picked me up at the airport, shot himself in the chest with a service pistol. The first summer I was there, killed himself.
Why did you shoot yourself in the chest? He was just
dressed up in his best suit, shot himself in his house. We had to process the crime scene and everything, man.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was actually in Charleston when it happened, because I was testifying for a child abuse case that I had worked in Charleston. So I had to fly back, and that my unit was just like distraught, destroyed. And I was like, again, I was looking for the next thing. We weren't going to church. We'd been there, 6 months. And they sent out a psychologist from OSI headquarters to sit with us, because we're like a unit of like 6 agents and 3 Japanese interpreters. So we're tiny. So one person killing himself and nobody saw it coming. It wrecked us. We were down for like 2 weeks, just showing up to work looking like zombies. And like the psychologist is talking to me.
Wow. I
had just finished my bachelor's in behavioral science. And she was just like, behavioral science, what's that about? And I was like, man, I'm really not about the law and order thing. I'm about the people. So I want to understand people better. So I got a degree in behavioral science. And she was like, well, the Air Force has a program where you can go from a bachelor's to a doctorate and be a psychologist for the Air Force. And I was like, they do? It's like, yep, 5 years and you graduated and you're a captain, OE pay. And I was like, let's do it. So I applied for that. And I remember like it was yesterday. Like everything was lining up perfectly for it. I had all the letters of recommendation. Everything was everything. And I'm like, our unit was busier than any unit in the Pacific. We had 4 agents and we had more cases than OSAN did with 30 agents. And it's all the worst stuff you can imagine. And I remember like waiting on the word back from them. And like, I was just doing my own thing, man. I was still like, part of our job was doing liaison with the locals. So Japanese people are funny. You'll hang out with them during the day in a suit, but then at night they want you to let your hair down and get twisted with them. They don't trust you to tell you no secrets if they ain't seen you drunk.
Right.
So like I had become really just a functioning alcohol abuser. And as bad as maintenance was, OSI is 10 times worse. From an alcohol abuse standpoint. It's just a cultural thing, especially overseas. So like I remember, like I would come home from like interviewing a child about the worst thing in the world, and it wasn't nothing to me to drink a bottle of red wine before I went to bed. And like I remember just like, oh yeah, no problem. You could ask Ashley. Sometimes it'd be the big one, Hey. And so I remember sitting there like thinking, well, I got to get this is crazy. This is killing me. I got to get out of this thing. And I remember praying And I was like, God, everything seems to be lining up perfectly for me to go to DC for this school, come out a doctor and be a psychologist. It all seems so perfect, the way it's lined up, the greater need for you and Messiah, all that kind of stuff. But I remember I said, if this isn't you, then you and I don't really know each other like I think we do. And I'm not okay with that. So if this is not you, and this is all me wanting this, and it's not you, then you and me need to get acquainted. And within 2 days, I get the Dear John letter from the program. We regret to inform you, you've not been selected. And like immediately I was like, well, Ashley, we need to find a church.
Hey,
so we went,
them prayers,
nice.
Like the prayer I had, the prayer you just had, although they seem trivial, in that moment it's so sincere, and he hears us and he finds us in those little moments. I told myself, I said, if one more bad thing happened,
I told him, I was just like, God, I've been in church my whole life, but if this isn't you, then I don't know the difference between my own desires and your voice. And I'm not cool with that. And God, and immediately, it was like that made him drop it in the mail. No, thank you. You're not getting so I'm still there at this, I was there ultimately for 5 years in Masawa, working some of the craziest stuff for my career, awful. And then be a child forensic interviewer and stuff like that. Awful stuff. But we started going to church, and the church we went to, we had like a Bible study one night, and they were doing one on the spiritual gifts. And they were like, what do you think your gift is? And it was like a group of people who were in like the teacher group was like 30 people. And it was like preacher, pastor was like 2 people. And I was like sitting there, like looking around at the groups. And I was like, man, let me just slide over here with the teachers. and I didn't feel right. And I went up to the pastor and I was like, Bishop, I got to apologize. I was sitting in the wrong group. And he was like, what? I was like, yeah, I'm supposed to be preaching. I can't not do it. He was like, man, we got a training program, blah, blah. And I think I sent it to you, J3, like the whole thing. So I went in the minister training, and it was the best thing because what pushed me there was that I could connect with somebody on the worst day of their life, and they would release information that they never want to tell anybody. And, having kids and teenagers say, Mr. David, I'm going to tell you something I never told anybody in the whole world. And I remember going to my supervisor once, and I told him, I was like, Kev, if another kid tells me, Mr. Dave, I'm going to tell you something I never told anybody else, I think I'm going to lay on the floor and cry. He was like, this is the job, man. We got to get you back in the fight. And like, it got to the point where I was so good at the job that it was making me feel like a fraud, because I really did love the people I was talking to. I wasn't just spitting game to them about you're better than this. There's life after this. But then as soon as the interview's over, I got to be like, all right, your first sergeant's going to take you to the ADC now, or you're going to go to mental health, or you're going to go back home. And I'm not supposed to talk to him because nothing can ruin an investigation like an investigator who's showing bias. So if some kid is like, oh my gosh, I never told anybody that I got touched at church, but I told you, so I got a soccer game. Can you come see it on Saturday? I got to tell them no. Right. I can't go to your soccer game because the defense attorney would skewer me on the stand for that.
Right.
And it would ruin the whole thing. So the tension between that was just killing me. Right. So I think that's what God used to push me to ministry, because the path that I was on was just showing me more and more that that's where I needed to be. And that's why we ended up, I got ordained an elder out there. And we ended up at down here at Moody in Valdosta, Georgia, where I retired from. I retired early, 15 years. Okay. I retired early.
Years. Okay. My wife also did the 15-year retirement.
Well, I didn't do the 15-year retirement. I was med boarded out for PTSD.
Okay.
So I actually didn't finish my career in OSI. I was showing signs. Like I said, I was in the ER several times with heart palpitations. They weren't sure if I was having heart attacks or panic attacks or what. And I ended up back in my old career field. And so I was like, so now I hadn't been in that job since, '08. Now I'm a tech sergeant, putting the uniform back on, and now I got troops and stuff again. But even that was cool. It was good to be an advocate for my troops, because 10 years in OSI, I ain't scared of nobody. So if somebody wants to act like Darth Vader on the flight line, I'm just gonna look at you stupid.
Yeah.
So, so even then, like I baptized one of my troops. You know what I'm saying? Like cool stuff like that. But that's I left this super high stress job that was driving me, in my mind, driving me to drink, making me feel crazy, all these horrible experiences. And I was like, well, I should have peace now. And I felt worse. In those first 6 months back here, I was feeling awful. I was having nightmares. I was like all kind of stuff. And I just made an appointment in mental health and just went. And within a few months, she was like, yo, you have PTSD, and you got really severe PTSD
from all the cases and stuff you worked, or
it's called complex PTSD. So it was everything, it was deployments, it was explosions, it was the cases, it was everything.
Yeah.
So, it was a lifetime's worth of horrible memories, all that. Once I got out of it, my body finally and my mind really started going like, bro, what were you doing to us for the last 10 years? And so once you made that determination.
So as you talk about that, we're going to jump into tonight's topic, and we got about roughly like 20 minutes.
Okay.
We're not going to speed bump, so we'll get to when we get to. And what we don't, we bring you back at another time, and we'll finish the conversation.
We could definitely make this a two-parter.
So as you talk about your struggles in the military, you talked about having to leave the military early for PTSD. You've seen a lot of stuff. You've been outside the wire. And for me to say outside the wire, so I was deployed also in FOBs in Afghanistan. I was down at FOB Shank and all that stuff. But I was still, even though I was on the FOB, I was inside the wire. When I'm explaining about Dave here, going outside the wire is leaving the FOB. You're in what we would call enemy territory or whatever. You're out there, whatever. There's nothing holding him back from anything, right? So now we got this huge whirling about mental health and mental illness, and our children are taught to be way more aware of it, which I'm thankful for.
Love it. I love it. I wish that was us, dog.
I know.
I wish we had that.
And it was a succession, right? Because how we grew up, our parents gave us what they had. And there was stuff brewing, but there was not a lot of education and stuff available to them that has now opened up for us. And doing the world a disservice if we have all this information, we have all this knowledge, and we just ignore it. So I want you to take a few minutes, Dave, if you don't mind, and speak to the current airman or the current service member in the forces today surrounding the just recent attacks and anything else they have to go through, navigating through how could they navigate this without having all the problems that you and I and even PG is going through with all the stuff we got to go through now, having been out of the service, going through mediation, going through counseling around PTSD, because I've also been diagnosed with PTSD as well. And so like, what could they do? Like, because again, we have information our parents didn't have.
Yeah.
So we can make our predecessor, or we can make our future a little better by giving them the gems. So drop a few gems of stuff they could do now.
Stop lying on your yearly personal health assessment. Like I remember in every unit I've ever been in, every year that comes through and everybody puts, I don't have any depression, anxiety. I have 2 to 3 drinks, always with food, no more than twice a month. Yo, everybody gets on there and lies.
They gave us the ZZ123.
Yeah.
So you had all these little plans and these little coin phrases about drinking, but
but so you got to tell the truth. Stop lying. Stop lying to yourself. Stop and in the military, part of it is the military's fault, but a lot of it is our own pride that especially black men, we don't like asking for help.
Right.
And we've been taught that a crying man is a weak man, even though John 11:35 says Jesus wept. But I mean, but we've been taught that real men don't cry, and that's a cop out that we gotta leave alone, because I think that I think my career could have lasted longer if I hadn't waited till I was like falling apart to go talk to somebody.
Got it.
And I think that the people who are around me, I talked with that supervisor I had who was like, well, let's give you the rest of the day off, and then you got to interview another kid tomorrow. Like he called me tearfully apologizing, now that we're out of that. He was like, man, I'm so sorry. Because now in OSI, there's like a psychologist and a chaplain assigned to every MAGCOM that comes through and checks on ages. Now, a lot of that was done on my over my body, to be honest.
Now, also adding, there is a it's an MFLAC, mental life. No.
Military family life and
there we go.
Consultant. So talk to somebody.
There's one of those at every unit now.
Every base.
There's a chaplain assigned to units now. I wish we would move, and I'm gonna let you finish, but I wish we would move to how the Army does it. But that would mean we would have to build up our chaplain corps a little bit differently.
Yeah, we would.
We do 5-6 chaplains per base. They do a chaplain per unit.
That'd be great.
And so they go in. The chaplain is always there. The chaplain go to their when they go out to the field. He or she is there.
That took a lot of years for them to get right too. Because I went to like in OSI that we had to do like decompression, which was like time that they make you spend before you can go home to your family, so you don't go home weird. In the Army, man, a lot of times they just tell you like, don't go beat your wives and act crazy on your kids. Now they do a lot better, but back then a lot of us they just let us back into the world, dog.
Right.
Like Ashley told me when I got back, like I was like walking around the car looking for bombs and checking behind the gas thing. I would like pop open the gas thing and make sure nothing was there. I don't even remember that.
Man.
So part of it I think is cultural. Part of it was cultural. I would drive crazy. Like somebody would be beside me and I'm drive through a parking lot real fast to get like stupid stuff. But I think that a big part of it is that there's this stigma that going to mental health is gonna ruin your career, ruin your clearance. I still have my TS plus clearance when I retired after a med board. So part of that is just like dorm. It's just like people just saying it, and that's what I heard. Right. And then the other thing that I think, like when I spent the summer of 2017 in inpatient mental health care for PTSD. Like I wasn't at work. I was at a facility getting my mind right.
Oh, wow.
And like they started a med board when I got back, and my commander then, Chris Dunstan, I think he might be a colonel now. But he was the commander I had then, and he like pulled me aside and he sat down with me and he was like, look, man, if you died tomorrow, I would have to press a button and have another tech sergeant come in here. And he said, but if you died tomorrow, Ashley can't get another one of you. And he's like, you've been in 15 years and you've done a lot of things for the military and you've done a lot for them that you shouldn't have had to do. But you've got to live for the next part of your life, regardless of whether you retire at 20 or 15.
Yeah.
And he's like, you got to start making decisions for you, not for what you think the military is going to do for you. Like it's got to be about you and your family for once. And he's like, now it's happening for you that, you know, he's like, I'm saying don't fight this thing. Just let the thing go. If they make the determination that being in the service isn't right for you, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And I was so glad. I told him later, I was like, man, that's some life-saving stuff you just said.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the med board is the right thing. Sometimes if you go to mental health and they think you need to be on some medicine and they got to take your gun for a little while, maybe that's right. Maybe you're not deployable for 6 or 8 months till you get your mind right. Hey, that's okay. That's what the system is for. But don't let the shame of it, because I was telling J3 the other day, like when I was an agent, every time somebody dies in the Air Force, we get an email with the circumstances. And some of those people were people we worked with at the 33rd.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them were people who had taken their own lives.
Yeah.
And like every time of all the suicide notes I read when I was an agent, so many of them said, nobody will ever understand. Nobody gets it. They'll hate me. I have to carry this to my grave. And then when I interviewed the survivors, all of them said the same thing. I wish I would have known. I could have helped. I could have forgiven. I wish there was something I could have done, but they didn't give me the chance. Right. And we got to stop getting to the place where it's an emergency, where we're in a crisis before we say, hey, I need some help. So if you're in the service now and you're finding yourself, you can't focus, you can't remember things, wherever you are, you got to remember that you made, like Ashley told me, she was like, you were like agent of the quarter, agent of the year, NCO of the everything. She was like, husband of the year, never came home.
Whew.
And so I was like, so much of my life, never husband of the year. She was like, you come home and you tell me the war stories. You could tell me what you could tell me. Sometimes you couldn't tell me. And I would just know how bad the day was by how quickly you drank. And she's like, I wish I had that guy that everybody knew as Super Dave. I wish because, there were times when I was TDY half of the, like from maybe 2013 to 2015, I was TDY half of the time I was there. Here, there, and everywhere, growing out my beard, looking a little bit Arabic to go do some stuff I can't talk about and stuff like that. And she was like, that's all so cool, but I never got that guy to come home. I got what was left. So, wow. Even if you think that you're young and you're getting by, the people who care about you, they notice, and we don't need to get adjusted to living life that way, so that you're barely getting by. And, my relationship with God was what really pulled me through therapy, and my relationship with Christ, man, because you got to get out of this mindset that my value is in whether I'm deployable or not, or my value is in whether people can depend on me, or whether I'm on time for work, or like I spent 2 full months away from work because I was in inpatient PTSD therapy. Folk thought I was TDY. Some people didn't even know I was gone.
Hey, and to your point on that, Dave, you was in there, you said for 2 months. And guess what didn't happen? The Air Force
nobody called me and asked me nothing.
The Air Force,
they didn't ask me to catch a Red X. They didn't ask me to fill out a form. They just kept it rolling. And I was the lead tech in my shop. And then they knew it wasn't up, but they were like, I figured you was at first we thought you were on lead. You were gone so long. I got back and I was like, y'all didn't even know I was, man. But that's just the way it is. Like, and the military has a way of making us feel like that's all we'll ever be. And it's just not true. That's something that we do temporarily. And we end up putting all that we'll ever be into something that cannot appreciate us. And then we leave our families hanging. And I've been spending I medically retired in 2018. I've spent the last 7 years trying to make it up to my wife. Because I recognize that I was trying so hard to be everything for some folks who I could just disappear and they wouldn't even know the difference. And I know that's true because I worked the cases that would make people disappear. Because my job before was worst case scenario Monday to Friday and on some weekends. So I was like, man, I gotta. So now I'm just a lot more. But if you're in now, especially, and you're finding yourself feeling overwhelmed, don't wait until you get a DUI and then you got to say I got a drinking problem.
Yeah,
go talk to somebody. It was a whack excuse, but for me, I didn't want to go to mental health because we were so busy. I was investigating people with mental health. I didn't want to go over there and tell y'all my stuff when I was an agent.
Right.
But when I got out, I just thank God that I had the mental wherewithal to say, hey, I'm not okay. And she was like, are you in here on a ADAP kind of a thing? And I was like, nah, I'm just like not good. Like I'm coming home and I thought I'd be better and calmer and I'm not on call 24/7 and I got other people that are doing most of the work for me and I'm freaking out. I'm falling apart. And,
and so even we talked offline about after these attacks, and we talked about it a little bit earlier with me and Hustle. The way the military is structured, at least we can speak from the Air Force, having our airmen come up and all that. The things that got them upset and the things that made them not okay, it doesn't seem like a war or these attacks would be conducive to how they are thinking right now and how they are able to handle it. What would you say if you was king, if you was commander, if you was the commander for the day? How would you properly prepare these airmen, these NCOs for what could be on the horizon?
I know, like, especially at my last assignment before I retired, having airmen again after coming out of such a high stress job, I just spent a lot of time talking to them and getting to know them. Mm-hmm. And if we had a particularly long day or something happened, whatever, somebody was going through something, I had some, because, people were still getting in trouble, people who were still getting hot urinalysis and stuff like that. I would stop them and I would talk to them and I'd be like, hey, I know you think you're okay, but like, what's on your mind? What's your plan when you leave here? Are you planning on going by a class 6 and getting the 24 pack? Or are you okay to go home and watch a little TV without that? Like, where are you at right now? And sometimes it would be that I would notice that they were changing before they were, or I would see that circumstance was worrisome and they'd be thinking, I just got to push through because I got to be tough because they wouldn't tell me to do something that I shouldn't be able to do. So what I think that, and like you kind of alluded to it already, is that as supervisors, you got to know your people. And even if you're not a supervisor, you got to speak up for yourself. Don't think that because somebody asks you to do something, that means you absolutely, in military, there's going to be some stuff you're going to have to do. But if you're no kidding feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling like it's going to impact your job. You're thinking, man, if I go, I'm already burning the candle at both ends mentally. And if we got to go someplace with the ends and stand, I don't know if I'm going to be okay. You need to say something. And I say that because it's better for you to identify it now than for you to get into a war zone and somebody die because they thought you had their back.
Right.
You got to tell them.
And I know that's tough. Yeah, my man first. Hey,
man first.
Yeah, first. And an airman second. So like,
and an airman second.
So you gotta be. Yeah. So you gotta. If the worst case scenario happens, you still got to be a human. Mm-hmm. So don't sacrifice your mental health on the altar of the military, because the military, if you do something wrong, you get 2 DUIs and see if how touchy feely they're going to be about it. You know what I'm saying? You show up to formation drunk. I had a troop. They got him. We got called in, and he was drunk, and someone saw him driving, and they got your boy. Oh yeah. I was like, they're down for you, and then when you're out of
here,
moved on.
And
so I would just say
that's right.
You said it so clear before with your last commander was like, if you die right now, I will hit a button and I will have your seat filled before it would get cold.
OSI was recruiting my replacement before I was even out of the base.
That just like, you do not have to go to the end. Don't be like me. Mm-mm. Don't be like that. Don't lie on your PHAs.
Don't do it.
I talked in my TAPS class. There was a psychologist. He worked at mental health, and I know I pulled him to the side. He was a major. Oh no, he was a lieutenant colonel, and I was like, "Is the stigma true?" He was like, "The stigma itself is not true, but if you're not well, I will be doing you and your unit a disservice if I put you out there. So I'm gonna have to take you off the line. If I give you medicine, it's at least 6 months, right? But when you come off the medicine, I need to watch you for 6 months to see what the chemicals is doing to your body, make sure your brain, we got to have some sessions. But so that's the year they're talking about that you're not going to be, but you're still going to.
And some medicines don't even have that. Most medicines you can still work with, unless you're on like unless you're on something that's super strong with a little red tape across the top. Yeah. Most medicines you can still work with. I was still working on the flight line while I was in my med board for most of it till the very end when they put me on Ativan and I would take one and they would have me a little loopy. And then they put me in the office and that's what I did. They'd be like, they see me in the office looking chill with my music on. They'd be like, took one of them Ativan, Collins? I'd be like, yeah, man. Yeah, chill. Man. But most of the time, you may not even need medicine. In most cases, maybe you just need to talk to somebody and that'd be that. Yeah. But if worst case scenario is I go there, they in my case, start a med board, put you on medicine, and you end up having to separate. Like I'm still here 7 years later doing good for God and for people. And I don't know where I would have been if I had tried to push through the last 5 years. I might be one of them emails. You know what I'm saying?
And speaking of that, you're here 7 years later and you have a brand. Not only are you a pastor, beautiful church, great service, good word, but you now have a brand. Speak about Broken for This. Talk about that brand.
So that's something my wife and I have been kind of cooking up for the last few years. I launched it as a podcast this year. I've been in therapy since 2017. Just like the year before I got out, and I've stayed with that same therapist all the way to now. And I'm working through some of those reference trauma that I had, issues with my biological father, problems that I had that I dragged into the military with me, that I look and see why I picked a crazy person for my first wife and why I was getting ready to, why I chose to drink so much and why. So I'm learning a lot about myself. And part of what I'm learning is that all the stuff that I thought would disqualify me to be a pastor or to be helpful to anybody is what's equipped me. And I spent a lot of time feeling broken. And I know that the truth is that God has just been carving me like a key. And the more I look around, the more hearts he's helping me to unlock. And I'm having those conversations with people and I'm finding them just like I was an agent, but now without an agenda. And I can say, hey, I feel you. I feel you. I know that I've got the veteran suicide hotline in my phone because I've called it. You know what I'm saying? For me. So I still love Jesus and he's a part of why I'm here. And you know what I'm saying? So it's my way of, you've seen a couple of them, J3, I'm being real transparent about my own mental health journey, but it's so that people can see that you don't have to live in shame, silence and secrets and solitude will kill you, man. Yeah. And Black men among all Americans are one of the fastest rising suicide demographics. And we are also the least likely to seek mental health care. Bro, them numbers ain't good.
Bad combo. That's a bad combo.
We are the least likely to get mental health care and the most likely to commit suicide. One of the brothers who was in that crew that J3 and I talked about, Big Ferg, man.
Big Ferg, R.I.P.
Would have never known. But almost everybody I talked whose case we ran when they took their own life, everybody was like, man, I would have never known. Because you never know when you see somebody that way. So I'm just trying to do my little part, man. Trying to take the stigma off of mental health, especially among Black men, just because I am one. But you know, I interview people, and I'm in my own healing journey. I'm writing a series of letters to my biological father, stuff that I wish I had said.
Whew,
and
that one,
they're
boy,
crazy.
I have to have my Kleenex ready, bro. Because
so I do about one. I'm doing another one tomorrow. Just talking about. So it's almost like following my entire life through the lens of that. So I just
Dave,
think
I told you offline, your superpower, or I was like, how can you be any more transparent? Like, there was like Dave there's nothing left on the bone, Dave. Like the bone, we down to the marrow. Like Dave gives it, and that is so empowering for me to see. I'm approaching 1 year of retirement. I have been going through my highs and my lows, but I sought out my counselor, and she gives me homework, and I do the work. That's
proud of you, man. That's big time.
When that person gives you their work, like prime example, one of my things is she don't want me to sit facing the exits right now. Now that doesn't seem like much for a lot of people.
I don't like it.
I can't do that.
But
you gotta do your work, PG.
To be able to come.
That's his assignment.
She wants to be able to come, enjoy your meal without thinking about what could happen.
Right. Remember when
what could happen never happens.
Yeah. And the rest of the time you're just running up your blood pressure.
Exactly. So
here's the thing, PG. You gotta add no, you're not. You're not ready. You really not. If something popped off, you piss your pants and pass out.
You ready? No.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, you would. We all would, sir. Man. You ain't ready. You're not ready like you think you are. We go off you go off the rail. But here's the thing, one of the things that Jesus went to the guy, this man who was at the pool of Bethesda, and he had been there for like 42 years or 38 years. He had been going to the same place, and Jesus rolled up on him, and he was like, "Do you want to be made whole?"
He was like, "Ain't nobody here to put me in the pool."
He's like, "Ain't nobody helping me. I've been here this whole time." And Jesus was like, "Do you want to be made whole?"
He said, "That is not what I asked."
That's not what I asked you. You have all the excuses, and some of them are good. But is this how you want? Do you want to live? Do you want to survive, or do you want to thrive?
Yeah.
Do you want to live like this? And what I've learned, the thing that PG for me that pushed me past being comfortable in dysfunction, is that I realize that there are other people who can benefit from my wellness than me. And even if I'm comfortable living below my mental means, and I'm okay being constantly triggered and maintaining it and trying to avoid things that are going to upset me, there's still that beautiful lady in there who needs me to not always be white knuckling it. And there's a church that I'm trying not to have fire me every week. So I got to be a little plugged in, and I'm a mentor in the military in a program. I'm starting off as a mentor in the veterans program, and I'm trying to help other people through their stuff and help them set goals. I can't be a public success and a private failure. I want to be the same person. And so sometimes we have to be, we can't be comfortable in predictable misery anymore, man. And so many Black men, we don't even know, because we watched our mamas be strong Black women that didn't need no men or be tough and be the only person at the job who's really working hard, and she's okay and she ain't never said nothing about it. And all we got passed down to us was with mental health issues and high blood pressure because we doing the same thing.
Work hard.
And it's like a pressure cooker though, because I cook with a pressure cooker all the time, right?
Right.
Pressure cooker don't look like it's hot until that joker explode. Until you pop the top, and you gotta, and that's how we are.
On the back.
Yeah. So
and if they hit that,
see what happens, my boy.
And then when you go, psh, everybody looking at you crazy, but that stuff's been inside of you boiling for who knows how long. So I'm just trying to, to get to the place that I'm not living that way, and I want to help other people to have some of those hard conversations, so that you don't have.
That's what's up, man.
Not everybody, because not everybody's gonna make it to getting help if they're doing it by themselves. Too many times people will drown that stuff in liquor. They'll numb it with pills. They'll work themselves to death. They rage. They check out. They whatever. They throw themselves into sports. They're always in the bar. Whatever it is. And the thing is that, and this is just this. I'm a preacher, so it's the truth. But God is the answer to whatever that empty thing is. Amen. There is something that is bigger than you, and He can use whatever it is. And it feels so good to be able to have a conversation with someone and see that the worst day in your life help somebody out of I can sit down and tell somebody, hey, don't do what I did. This is where I ended up. And then I watch their life be better than mine.
Hey,
that's the real thing.
Yeah,
that's commendable. Yeah, that's what's up.
I see that so many times when I see my airmen outrank me, and I was like, you know what, I got to go because and then I go to my chief, I go to my command. I'm like, what? There's like, Sergeant Jacks, we watched you pour into them. We've watched you give, and they're eating, and they are boom to the moon. And I for the longest time I had that meme of the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, with Master Splinter.
He was walking those little turtles. Right?
Yeah, they were all chiefs, and he was a staff sergeant.
And then it flipped. And them bad boys was walking old Sarn. They was walking old Sarn up out of there because they had got big, and I was the small one now. But Dave, look, man, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. You have already been giving us these gems. You had an amazing Bible study even before you got on here. So I want to personally thank you from the bottom of my heart for always pulling up for the Redeployment Podcast.
Man, y'all do great work.
I gotta be here. Messaged you even as I was starting this. It's like, this is part of my healing and part of my help, even from my PTSD, is to talk, because one of the things I've always said is when I'm talking shop with people, my civilian counterparts, they have no idea what I'm talking about. None. I am literally telling them stories and they're like, what? So you make food out of a bag and you put water in it and it get hot? What? You don't just get some. And and so I spend a lot of my time doing that. But when I can talk shop with some men, and future women that come on the show, and we could talk about our experiences, man, this is so helpful to me. So I want to thank you. Let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you, where they can tune in to your cast.
I'm old, so I'm mostly on Facebook, but I share all of our Bible studies and Sunday messages and all this stuff on my Facebook page. My name's up there, David Collins. Okay. And then Broken, the number 4, this brand new YouTube page and a Facebook page. That's where the more personal stuff will be. I want to do that separate from the church thing.
Yeah.
I don't want New Mount Zion to be my, I don't want to use the pulpit as my confessional or my therapist chair. Right. Broken for this is kind of the more personal side of that. And that's on YouTube and Facebook and Spotify. So you can find it broken, the number for this.
So we're going to go to closing comments. PG, take us. Do you got anything to take us out with?
No, man. I'm just. You know what? Yes, I do.
Okay.
I'm gonna piggyback off of what DC said, man. If y'all need help, you know you need help, or if you might not even know you need help. Just start talking to somebody. I've been in therapy before too. Like you know what I'm saying? I've been in there since I was not since, but I've been in there at 12, 13 years old. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's another story. So I've had those things and I've done, you know what I'm saying? So I understand how good it is and how, you know, healthy it is to talk to somebody about something and to have someone to talk to about something. So, and what you said is so true. Like I couldn't, like I said, we can't reiterate it no other way, bro. Like not better, because if you don't, it's a pressure cooker, and it's gonna pop, and that's what you just told us, and the jewels that you just dropped on us should help people, you know, not get to that point. It should let them go ahead and go on and hit the timer and let that bar loose real quick and go. Let that pressure out real fast, man, and just slowly. It don't have to be all the time, right? It don't have to be all the time. It's not meant to go. It's not meant to be released all at once. It's meant to be released steady and slow.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to, my closing comments, I just want to say, if you need help, get help. If you don't think you need some help, just start talking to somebody, and it might surprise you how much help you need or how much you could benefit from the help that you receive.
Yes, sir.
Amen.
Yes, sir. Dave, talk. You got any closing comments?
You know, I got to give you scripture. So
yeah, come on.
My favorite passage of scripture from a mental health standpoint is in Matthew 26. Jesus going into the Garden of Gethsemane. There's only like 28 chapters in Matthew, so we're getting pretty close to the cross. Judas has betrayed Jesus, and he's getting ready to go be betrayed. He goes into the Garden of Gethsemane. He's got 11 people left. One of his homeboys took him out. He's got 11 people left. He tells the 11, y'all stay out here. Don't be around me right now. Then he tells Peter, James, and John, he says, y'all come with me. So Jesus even knew not everybody can handle you at your worst.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he shrunk that circle from 12 to 11 to 3. And then he said to the 3 people who he trusted in Matthew 26 and 36, I believe, he said, my soul is exceedingly sorrowful, even to the point of death. Jesus facing the cross, God, the Messiah, said, I'm so depressed, I feel like dying. And then he told his friends, stay and pray with me so you don't fall into temptation. I have never felt so free in my brokenness as when I realized that my Savior knows what it's like to feel like dying.
Whew.
He know.
That's deep.
Because it says that he's been tempted everywhere we are, except without sin. And then he says, so then he goes and prays and he says, Father, I don't really want to do this. If there's another way, there's a plan B. If this cup can pass me by, let it be, but not my will, but your will.
Yeah.
So I find comfort in knowing that if nobody can handle me, I know God can handle me. And sometimes that's enough. Sometimes I got my Peter, my James, or my John, and I got my trusted inner circle that I can have that conversation with. But I don't feel weak like I used to for being willing to cry out and ask for help. And I want you to know you're never more like God. You're never more like Christ than when you're recognizing that you need somebody around you. And it's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. It's grown man behavior for somebody to say, hey, I need somebody to help me.
Yeah.
Because I would so much rather answer the phone when you're in crisis than read your eulogy. I would so much rather. I would so much rather talk to you than bury you. I'm tired of burying friends, man.
Yeah.
I'm tired of burying friends.
Reach out.
And I would rather talk to you and talk you into living than comfort your family.
Yeah. And my closing comments is this. This podcast is for you. If you are currently in the military and you're thinking about staying, I did. Dave stayed in as long as he could. If you're thinking about leaving early, think about doing 1, 2 enlistment, that's cool too. PG did. These are stories that will help you. If you're thinking about coming in the military, this podcast
don't go open.
Don't go open though, please.
If you ain't never learned nothing else,
if you don't listen to nothing else we say, do not go open. Wait for your job. Wait for your job.
Facts.
That's a trick. I was about to say a trick of the enemy, but it's a trick where they want you to go in open for their numbers so they can just get you through the door. But your job is 6 months, 8 months out. Go work at Piccadilly's and wait your time. And finally, if you are a civilian who have never come in contact with a military member, listen to our stories. We're very relatable. We going through the same stuff y'all go through. And that's what this podcast is for. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Redeployment Podcast. Thank PG. Thank Black Money Media. Thank my guest, Dave. Go follow him. Go follow all of us.
Broken for this.
Broken for this. It's heavy, it's deep, but it's what we need. Thank y'all for pulling up in the comment section. I love y'all, and like Dave say, I love y'all, and there's nothing you can do about it. Hey,
yeah, I heard that. I love that, Dave. I'm taking. Yeah, that's it, boy. I love that.
Take it.
I love that, yo.
Nothing you can do about it. But
I love that, yo.
Tune in next. We'll see you next week, and y'all be good. God bless y'all. Good night.
Most definitely. Hopefully your lights will be back on.
Hope your lights will be back on, man.
No, man, they should be coming on in a bit. They said 5 hours, so we'll see. But I'm going.